I did notice something out of the ordinary, like a black blob in the ground by the flagpole.
Well, I say here that I just would give me anxiety to look out the window.
I wonder why.
Is there a reason that you didn't want to look outside?
I'm just an anxious person, and I got overwhelmed. I think most people would be overwhelmed in that situation.
You were drinking for hours.
Is that a question?
Yes, you were drinking for hours. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you were intoxicated as you were leaving that home.
Objection.
Were you?
Yes.
You were drunk.
Some would say, yeah.
You would say.
Yeah.
Would you please state your name and spell your last name?
Yep, it's Juliana Nagel, Nagel. How you doing?
Where do you live now?
Canton, Mass.
January 28th, 2022. Do you recall where you were that evening?
My friend Brian Albert's house.
Brian Albert Jr., and it's Albert.
On the stand is Julie Nagel, who's friends with Brian Albert Jr. here. Let's see what's going on.
I lived in Canton.
As far as your understanding, what was sort of the plan for that evening?
Just hang out, have some drinks for my friend Brian's birthday.
Yeah, so the 29th is my birthday. The 28th was the day before my birthday, obviously. So I had a few friends over from my birthday.
And do you recall how old you were turning on the 29th of 2022?
That was, what, 2 years ago? So I'd be 23? 23, I think? Yeah, 23.
Generally speaking, what you were doing while you were hanging out and celebrating Brian Jr.'s.
We got some food ordered from D&E, drinking. Food, drinking. Food, drinking. That was it.
How much do you think you had had to drink since 6 or 7 p.m.?
A decent amount.
Another word for it would be a lot.
No.
What were you drinking that night?
Michelob Ultras.
Do you recall sort of what people were drinking?
I know at the time I was drinking Michelob Ultras, but mostly just White Claws, beers.
Was anyone within this sort of initial group that we're talking about here drinking any more or less than anybody else?
I don't believe so, no.
Before Brian Albert Sr., Higgy Bear, the McCabe's, and John O'Keefe arrived at the house, the younger Albert was having a birthday party.
You were drinking for hours.
Is that a question?
Yes, you were drinking for hours. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you were intoxicated as you were leaving that home.
Objection.
Were you?
Yes.
You were drunk.
Some would say, yeah.
You would say.
Yeah.
You lived at the house, or other people sort of come back to the house?
Yes.
And about what time was that?
I'm not too sure, but I would say a little after midnight.
Who were the people that came?
Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Brian Jr.'s parents, Matt McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, Brian Higgins, and that's it.
With respect to Brian Higgins, is that someone that you knew prior to January?
I did not know.
So you met him the first time that night at the Fairview?
Correct, yes.
At some point you went home that night?
Yes.
What time was it?
I would say give or take like 1:45. I know at one point Mr. Albert, Brian's Jr.'s dad, took upstairs to let the dog out back, but he just opened the back door and watched him from the door and brought him right back upstairs.
You have a specific memory of Brian Albert Sr. walking Chloe through the first floor of that house, correct?
Yes.
When Brian Albert Sr. was walking Chloe through the first floor of that house, he maintained control of Chloe's collar, did he not?
He did, yes.
You like dogs, right?
I do.
But you didn't pat Chloe, correct?
I have, yes.
That night.
No.
Yeah, we had a dog, Chloe.
But how long at that point had you had Chloe?
We had her for a few years. I don't know exactly how many years, but a few years. The dog was actually upstairs in my parents' bedroom. She likes to sleep up there and stay up there. So she was upstairs when my friends were downstairs. And at one point, after my dad came home, it was asked if someone let the dog out. And I said, sorry, I forgot.
There's been some controversy around who let the dog out, but apparently it was his young brother's job to do it, and he failed.
I was the only one home, so he went upstairs to get the dog, got the dog, brought her downstairs, let her outside. Yeah, so we had a fenced-in backyard, so we just kind of let her through the back door and open the door, and she was able to run around out back.
Who, if anyone, did you speak to about the fact that your brother was outside?
At around 12:15, Julie texts her brother to come pick her up, and eventually he does.
Just mentioned saying my brother's outside. Just a few people saying, oh, just have your brother come in. So I went outside. I asked them if they wanted to come in. They said no.
Prior to you coming out of the house, was there any talk or discussion about how you would get home?
Yeah, Matt McCabe and Jennifer did offer to drive me home if I didn't want to go home with my brother, so I just stayed and then took their offer.
The vehicle that you were talking about, where is that in relation to the pickup truck that Ricky's driving?
She's now being questioned about Karen's SUV, which was parked outside 34 Fairview.
Well, it was like the SUV wasn't there when my brother was there. It was like before. Like when I was inside, I noticed it.
The time that you were talking to your brother in the pickup truck, was the SUV still there?
I don't believe so, no.
That's an interesting observation and inconsistent with all the other witnesses. She's claiming that when she went outside to talk to her brother, she didn't even see Karen's SUV right in front of it.
And so where was that SUV parked in relation to where the truck was?
So when I noticed, looking out the window, I did notice the SUV in front of the mailbox, and then pulled up a little bit in front of the yard.
This must have been some great party. Everyone's just sitting and staring out the window.
Stopped, and then pulled up again towards the flagpole.
Where were you in relation to the vehicle at the time that you made these observations?
Inside at the dining room table, looking out the window.
Can you describe sort of what you saw the first time you looked out the window?
I just saw a little in front of the driveway a little bit. I saw a truck. I saw my friend Julie at the passenger door, and a little ways up, I saw another dark SUV that I wasn't aware of.
I'm confident in stating that the SUV was in front of the truck that was picking up Julie. The issue is the only witness that did not see that truck was drunk Julie when she went out to talk to her brother, but everyone else clearly set forth that the SUV was in front of the truck at about 12:15 to 12:20.
You also testified earlier that you saw tire tracks in the snow, correct?
Yep,
Where were those tracks?
just along the side towards the driveway along this way.
This must be some birthday party. Everyone's just sitting and staring out the window.
Going up towards the flagpole.
And you viewed those tracks kind of leading up towards the flagpole, correct?
Yes.
So you'd agree that the visibility and lighting in front of the house was good enough that you were able to see tire tracks in the snow.
Sure.
But you did not see a 220-pound man lying in the snow in your front yard, did you?
Objection.
Was that something that you saw, sir?
No, I didn't see that.
And so when you left, how was it that you came out of the residence at that point?
Out the front door.
You come out from that door, where was it that you went?
Went into Matt and Jennifer's car.
And where was that vehicle parked when you went over to it?
I was in the driveway.
And do you recall sort of how you came from the front door to the driveway?
Just walked on through the path of the pathway in the front yard and then out the door.
After you get in the car, about how long was it before the car backs out of the driveway? And
I'm not quite too sure.
Drunk Julie here went out to her brother's car. She didn't take a ride with him, and then later got a ride home from Matt and Jen McCabe.
That the vehicle was driving by the house. What is it that you were doing at that time?
We were having a conversation. Jen was kind of facing towards the back, towards me and Sarah. We were talking about making PB and jelly sandwiches because there was some peanut butter and jelly and bread in the car, so talking about that.
How is it?
Why was there peanut butter, jelly, and bread in the car? Either way, once drunk Julie here got into Matt McCabe's car, she was sitting directly behind the driver's seat.
That she's positioned, talking to you with relation to the seat that she's in.
Yeah, I would say she was kind of turned back a little bit towards us in the back seat.
And as you drive by home, what, if anything, did you observe?
I did notice behind Sarah and Jen, I did notice something out of the ordinary, like a black blob in the ground by the flagpole.
From where you were situated in the car, do you know sort of what was the lighting like over in that area of the yard that you saw by the flag?
It was pretty dark out, but the snow was kind of heavy at that point, so couldn't really see too much. But
where in relation to the flagpole was this black object that you saw?
I would probably say close to the street, but in their lawn, right kind of in front of the flagpole next to it.
The area where you saw this black object, can you see that area pictured in this photograph?
Yes.
And if you could, using the laser pointer, direct jury's attention to where you observed it.
That's critical because that's exactly where John O'Keefe's body was found at 6:30 in the morning.
As the vehicle is going by the house, as you make that observation, what, if anything, did you say in the back seat of the car?
I did say out loud, I was like, I think I might have saw something. I'm not kind of sure what it was, but I was also intoxicated drinking, so didn't really know what it was, what I saw. But Sarah was like, "What, Julie?" And I was like, "I don't know what it was." And then that was kind of really it.
And keep in mind, she was so drunk, she didn't even see Karen's SUV when she went out to talk to her brother.
That you saw in that area, the flagpole. Can you describe how big an object it was that you saw?
I'd probably say like 5 or 6 feet.
Wearing a baseball cap, it had a gray shirt on.
Like long?
Trooper Proctor didn't talk to you on January 29th, did he?
No.
Or the rest of January or the whole month of February, correct?
Correct.
He didn't interview you about these statements that you're making today until October of 2022, correct?
If that's what it says on paper, yeah.
Mr. Albert, the first time you ever spoke with anyone from the Massachusetts State Police, the Canton Police Department, or the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office was on July 6, 2023, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
That's a full 18 months after Mr. O'Keefe's death, correct?
Yes.
We've established that you're very close with your sister, Courtney, correct?
Correct.
You provided your sister with updates on important advancements during the course of your investigation into this case. Did you not periodically?
I made her aware of newsworthy stuff.
This is Trooper Proctor. He was the lead investigator on the case, and when he finally got around to questioning the witnesses that were in the house where a dead body was found on the lawn, it was about 18 months later.
Your sister, Trooper Proctor, was warning you that you shouldn't be investigating a case in which close friends or family members were involved. A couple of minutes later, 3:07 on January 29th, you told your sister, quote, Julie and Chris were at the bar with the victim and girlfriend. Got to interview them. Is that right?
Yes.
On January 30th, 2022 at 9:13 in the morning, your sister texted you again, Jesus Christ. The party was at one of the Alberts, correct?
Yes.
How did you take her Jesus Christ? The party was at one of the Alberts with 2 exclamation points. How did you take that?
That's... the way I'm interpreting my sister's text messages was that surprised and shocked that this is where Mr. O'Keefe was found on the front lawn of that residence.
Could it be, Jesus Christ, we know these people?
Ruh-roh.
Again, that's how I read that message.
You're aware that Jennifer McCabe deleted texts and calls from her phone before she turned it over to you?
Were you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that.
Come on, man. He's only the lead investigator.
Are you aware that there were texts and calls missing from her phone before having that phone turned over to you?
I'm not aware of that.
Did you look at the extraction report, the Celebrite extraction report from her phone?
I guess I had to.
I have, yes.
And you didn't see the columns marked deleted, 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 deleted?
Nah, who cares about that column?
Yeah, not that area, no.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Not that area.
Not that area, meaning?
No.
What does that mean? I don't know what you mean by not that area.
I went through the Celebrite report, but clearly I didn't review that tab.
Somebody did ask you for a screenshot, correct?
Yes.
Who was that?
JJ McCabe.
And by JJ, you mean Jennifer McCabe?
Correct, yes.
Did you provide them to Jennifer McCabe?
I did, yes.
When Jennifer McCabe...
The screenshots Jen McCabe demanded were between drunk Julie here and her brother in order to establish the time for which she was texting her and her brother in order for all of them to get their time straight.
Or as you called her, JJ, asked you for screenshots of the text messages that you had with your brother Ryan. Did Jennifer McCabe tell you that she was investigating this case?
No.
Fair to say that walking out the front door of that house, you saw no body on that front lawn in front of you, correct?
When I walked out?
Correct.
No.
None of the other 3 people yelled out that they saw a body, correct?
Correct.
You got into Jennifer McCabe's vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And you were seated behind the driver, correct?
Yes.
And the driver was Matthew McCabe, correct?
Correct.
Jennifer McCabe was in the front passenger seat?
Yes.
And Sarah Levinson was sitting next to you behind the front passenger, correct?
Yes.
Matthew McCabe backed the car out of the driveway and then headed up toward Chapman Street, correct?
Yes.
That meant that the passenger's side of the vehicle was closest to the Albert home, correct?
Yes.
As Matthew McCabe was driving that vehicle alongside the Albert property line, Jennifer McCabe in the front passenger seat and Sarah Levinson in the rear passenger seat were the closest two people to the Albert home, correct?
Yes.
You claim now to have seen a black object in the snow, correct?
Yes.
Object is the term that you used when you were finally interviewed about this matter, correct?
A black object, yes.
Right. You never before ever told any investigator that what you actually saw was a black blob, correct?
I don't remember.
You also never, ever told any investigator that this black object that you described was actually 5 feet or 6 feet long, correct?
Correct, yes.
The very first time you're now mentioning this testimony that this black object, as you describe it, was actually 5 or 6 feet long was just today, after 12 noon on May 14th of 2024, correct?
Lally asked me how big it was, so I just told him right now, yeah.
Yeah, Lally, when you say Lally, you mean Mr. Lally, correct?
Yes, Mr. Lally, correct.
You can call him Lally.
Yes.
Mr. Lally just asked you during this trial, again,
Yeah.
right before this jury. That's the first time you've ever been asked or ever given an answer as to how big that object was, correct?
Not necessarily, no.
Who did you tell prior to today?
About what?
Okay, I thought we were talking about the fact that you've now testified that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long. You recall that?
Today, yes.
And my question to you was, you've never mentioned that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long until the last hour or so when Mr. Lally questioned you about it, correct?
Yes.
When you were passing the property, you did not think it was a body.
At the time, no.
You claim that you told everyone in the car that you saw something, correct?
Correct.
When you were leaving the property, after leaving the house at 1:45 a.m. and getting into the McCabe vehicle and passing the Albert lawn, you did not think that you saw a person who was in trouble, correct?
No.
Or a person that may have needed help, correct?
I don't know, no.
She's testifying during the end of the first trial, and it became critical for the prosecution to have somebody identify potentially a body on that lawn because so many other people testified that they saw nothing.
And you were right there, correct, passing the property?
I was passing the property,
Not
yes.
as close to the property as your friend Sarah Levinson, but you were in the back seat on the driver's side, correct?
Correct.
You didn't see a body on that lawn.
I mean, I don't know what I saw, but I saw an object.
And when an investigator finally spoke to you, it was Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
He was the one who took your statement on October 12th of 2022, correct?
If that was the date and time, yes.
And that was over 8 months after you were driving past.
I am not reading that. Some of you may or may not know, but I do have someone that writes the jokes for me. And the writer wanted me to say Blob sees Blob, but I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to talk bad about her weight here.
The Albert home at around 2 a.m. while you were drunk and supposedly seeing some black object, correct?
Before 2 a.m., yes.
So if you realized it was a body, you would have called 911, correct?
Yeah.
I guess they allowed Julie to make a wardrobe change.
Yes.
If you realized it was a body, you would have realized that was very important information, correct?
Yes.
And your testimony today is that you realized it was a body the very next day, correct?
The next day after I had a conversation, yes.
You didn't call 911 at that point, correct?
I did not know.
You called the police business line.
I did not know.
Did you speak to any police?
No.
The first time you've mentioned to anybody that object was 5 to 6 feet long was yesterday to this jury 2.5 years after you supposedly saw it, correct?
Yes.
What was it that woke you up that morning?
My dad had knocked on my door. I just threw on some clothes and I went downstairs into the main first floor of the house.
when you came downstairs into the main first floor area of the house, who, if anyone, did you see?
Happy birthday!
Yeah, so when I went down there, it was my mom, my dad, my auntie Jen, and my uncle Matt.
About how long were you down in that area of the home?
I would say the first time I went down there, I would say I was down there for maybe 15 minutes.
You say the first time you went down, were there subsequent times after that?
Well, yes, I went back up into my room after I was down there the first time.
That's an interesting admission. He said that he was woken up, he went downstairs, Brian Albert and the McCabe's were down there talking. I wonder what they told him to do.
And then I came back downstairs, and at that point, there was no one there besides me and my parents.
Can you describe sort of how you woke up that morning?
My dad just knocked on my door, and I woke up and opened the door.
You didn't hear any dog barking?
No.
You didn't see any emergency vehicles?
No.
Didn't hear any ambulances?
No.
Didn't hear any screaming outside?
The scratching of a head is a clear indicator of deception. He's obviously under stress right here.
No.
What did you do once you woke up?
I went downstairs.
Did you ever look out the window?
I don't recall if I did or not.
Would it refresh your recollection to take a look at your grand jury testimony?
Sure.
Those of you not familiar with the white suburbs, everyone looks out the window. Whenever there's a car parked, everyone goes to the window, as happened here, and looks out. And if there's ever a police car that comes down the block or an ambulance, everyone wakes up because it's such an uncommon thing. It is not plausible that in a suburb such as this, that nobody came out of the house when there was a dead person on the lawn, an ambulance and police cars in front. It's not plausible.
Sure. Thank you.
Why didn't you look out the window that morning?
Well, I say here that I just would give me anxiety to look out the window.
I wonder why.
Is there a reason that you didn't want to look outside?
I'm just an anxious person, and I got overwhelmed. I think most people would be overwhelmed in that situation.
Did you say that this was kind of a new thing for you, for cops and police to be at the house?
Yeah, that's never happened before. I've never had cops at or near my house.
Every single person in your family's a cop. What are you talking about?
And it made you overwhelmed, correct?
Yeah, I get overwhelmed easy, so.
This young brother seems like a nice guy, and obviously he suffers from some form of anxiety. But what was he told when he went downstairs? Did he hear anything? And what does he know about Chloe? Children generally form a strong bond with their pet, and especially if they have some form of anxiety where they're still living in the house at 25 years old. As for that blob on the lawn, I don't find it very credible that it was seen. None of the other witnesses claimed it, but the prosecution used it in the first trial. But for some reason, we didn't hear it in the second.